Hello, hello. Welcome back to People Junkie. I'm your host, Laura Marín. This is a podcast where people share their stories, as everyone has one, and maybe you can make a connection with someone you never thought you would. If you've been following the podcast, I so appreciate it. And if you are new, thanks for joining. Today's word of the day is culinary, as per Oxford Languages defines as of or for cooking. And today's guest definitely has those culinary chops. Her name is Ollie George Cigliano. She's in the top 3 rated cooking classes, according to Yelp, in the city of Long Beach. And she also runs Ollie's Kitchen, which is super popular for exploring fresh and fun ingredients and implementing a mix of innovative and traditional cooking. Without further ado, I bring you Ollie George Cigliano. Hello, Ollie. How's it going? How are you? How are you today?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining People Junkie. I'm so excited to have you on. So,
Thank you for having me.
oh, absolutely. So, talk a little bit about your background and how you got started in
Okay.
cooking and being a chef.
All right. I'm Italian American. I was born in Long Beach, California. My mom actually went into labor on Ocean Boulevard, so I'm from these streets. But I love it here. My background is I went to UC Berkeley and I studied comparative literature. So it was Italian, Spanish, and English, and I got to live in Spain and Italy and learn to cook in both of those places. And then in Berkeley, I lived at the International House, not of pancakes, but of people. And I loved it because I got to be around a lot of Italians. I got to be around people from all over the world, learn all about different foods. And in their kitchen, I would do cooking classes. And then Alice Waters, she's a chef at Chez Panisse, amazing chef. She would do lectures. She was an English major at Berkeley, and she just wanted to open a restaurant for her friends to eat. And now it's like a 6-month wait list. She's like a James Beard Award. Yeah, she's totally an
Wow.
inspiration. She did farm to school things, uh, installed pizza ovens and all kinds of schools around Berkeley and Oakland. So just a real inspiration. When I came back to Long Beach, I got my teaching credentials. I have a multiple subject credential, autism authorization, early childhood, English language learner, just a bunch of credentials. And I love teaching. So I've been working in schools now for over 18 years, Los Alamitos Unified and Long Beach Unified, and teaching kids. Also in the libraries, the local libraries around. I've been teaching seniors how to cook and everything. But as far as when I started cooking, as soon as I could. My nonna Mamie was always cooking. So, being from Naples, being from Ischia, they were very poor and they were fishermen. And when they moved to San Pedro, my dad was the only one across the bridge. So
Wow.
I know. And so she was just cooking all the time, and I was in awe of her. I would go to her house, and like all of her counters were just covered in like these beautiful dishes, and there was always a sauce on the stove, and I was just watching her all the time. But I didn't really start. I mean, I always had like little jobs and stuff like that. Probably
Mhm.
around 4th grade, I started cooking. And I know that one of the questions was a recipe that I had mastered. And
Yeah. I think that's actually what I was going to ask you. When did you get the cooking bug? It sounds at a very young age. And what's
oh, yeah, it's just
what
always there.
and what's one of the first recipes or meals that you made that you mastered?
Okay, so anything you've mastered, you've messed up with, right? So I just remember being in 4th grade, and I was so happy to make my parents dinner. They were both very hardworking teachers. They met in Compton where they taught. They were math teachers, and then my mom started teaching in Long Beach. But they would get home really late, so I was like, I was make dinners and stuff like that. And the way my grandma cooks, there's no measuring, nothing like that. So I would see her make her pesto. I was like, I could do that. And so I remember I made a pesto genovese that was non era mangiabile. My dad said it was inedible.
Well, you know what? I
And
just
it
learned
hurt
a
like
new word
me.
today.
Yeah, it was so dramatic, it's like it's that can't possibly. And what had happened is I had mixed it too much and I put too much cheese in, so it just kind of became like a brick.
Oh,
And
wow.
I would not say that it was inedible. I mean, all the ingredients in it were very good, But, I grew up with some tough critics. And at that time, I started learning, sauces kind of have an architecture to them. So you want to have a good structure. You don't like a brick, but, learning all the components and how they come together. So I would say now that my pesto is pretty popular. I have people that buy it all the time. And I grow my own basil. So I hope that I've mastered the pesto. I know that it's edible.
Now it's edible, right?
È mangiabile adesso. Yeah.
So go further into how you became a chef, because I mean, you were talking about what you studied, at Berkeley, and that's something completely different from, feeding people, right?
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't, right? Like with the languages and everything and the cultures. But I think for me, it was something I loved to do, and it was something I could make money at. So I didn't have to get a job when I was at Cal because, I could put these things together. And then when I came home, I knew that I wanted to teach, and I knew I wanted to do that farm to school piece that I was so inspired by. But the teaching system was very different here. And, first one in, what is it? First one in, first one out? I don't know. Last one in, first one out. Excuse me. And so I think it's young.
I think it's first one in, last one out.
That's when it's good, right? But for me, last one in, first one out means you're getting pink slips. So like I would get so attached to the kids and like my garden and like all this stuff. And I was doing special ed, you really get like into their lives and like their IEPs and everything. And it's like, oh, by the way, we're combining classrooms. So like, I'm sorry, but we can't employ you. And so it was heartbreaking, it was hard. And I would always just go back to working in a test kitchen or, doing classes. And so it's always just been sort of, I wouldn't say like a plan B. I mean, when you're a teacher, you have to have another job anyways. But yeah, the chef part, I guess, more formally started when, was it 8 years ago? It's like, what's the year? Is it still March 2020? I don't know.
No, but, it's 2021 and we're already going to be in September.
I want to say 8 years ago, but don't fact check me.
That's okay.
I was a chef at this little preschool that was kind of Italian inspired, where the kitchen was the heart of the school and they had a garden, and I would teach kids how to cook. And I remember asking my friend, and colleague if I should go to chef school or culinary school. And she's a Lake Cordon Bleu graduate with like Grand Diplome. And she's like, no. She goes, you just ask me anything you want to learn and I'll trade you for produce. Because I have a community garden plot in Long Beach and grow all kinds of food. So French pastry, anything that I wanted to know, she just taught me. She had kind of said, and that's why I don't want to mention her name. She knows who she is. Anyone that follows me knows she's like my biggest mentor. But she kind of said that culinary school was a waste of money. So I'd already spent a lot of money on college. So I'm more of a, I guess what they call self-taught chef, but I don't really like that term because I learned so much from people, all the people I've worked with along the way. So
wow.
Yes, that's when I became a chef.
That's amazing. I totally hear self-taught chef a lot, especially because, Gordon Ramsay has so many of those cooking shows. And one that I've been watching is about, like self-taught chefs that are trying to get like, I believe, I think it's a place in his kitchen or something like that. And I feel like that's where you learn when you're young, when you're around your family, because I have a Mexican background, Latino background, and that's where I learned how to cook. And I know, and Latinos and I feel Italians have definitely a lot in common. We love to eat, we love to talk, we love to drink and all that good stuff. So, talk a little bit about more of your background and how that inspired you.
I just love cooking. I mean, I'm always cooking. I think I'm very lucky to love it so much because, it's easy to lose the passion when it's your job. But I love cooking for my family. I love like making new things. I love making people happy. When I hear someone say like, that's the best steak I've ever had, or that's the best pasta I've ever had, it makes me really happy. I guess, it's at the risk of sounding cliche, it really is a love language. It's really a way to show people that you care about them. And it's nice to open up my kitchen and my home as part of my business too, I make so many friends in the community. They keep coming back for like different classes and everything. It just fulfills me. You know, I don't know, like it balances me out. You know, if I feel down, I know that I can get up and I can go to like my little art supplies over here and make something, you know, and then make someone happy when they eat it.
Well, I'm looking at your kitchen. It looks so inspiring. Like,
Thank you.
was it always like that? Or what did you have to do to make your kitchen so beautiful and
So
functional?
thank you. Well, one of my many jobs is I manage our family's apartment buildings. It's Cigliano Properties in Long Beach. My last name is Cigliano, but in Italian it's Cigliano. You'll hear me go back and forth. But so this is one of the buildings that I manage and I reside in. And it used to have like a wall right through here. You can't really see it now, but I don't know if it's okay to flip around.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this was a wall, and then you see.
Wow. So
just knocked the whole thing out because I was like, you should be able to see the beach while you're in here, you know?
Yeah.
And so everything behind here was custom designed by Birdie. That's what I call my mom. And I love it. The backsplash is a Fibonacci sequence. Here, I don't know if you can see the hood very well.
Oh, yeah.
But the hood was actually my old fireplace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Isn't it fun? It's an old historic building in Long Beach. It's a Spanish style thing. I really like that we were able to maintain the curves and all the different characteristics. But I knew that I wanted an open space. I wanted to be able to just take things out. I love the Class C hood. It really sucks everything up. So if you're like frying or you know, really going at it in here, it's really good ventilation.
Wow. That's awesome. No, I mean, for those of you who are listening on Spotify, definitely if you can go on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram to check out Ollie's Kitchen. Now, speaking about Ollie's Kitchen, talk a little bit about pre-pandemic, how you were doing, and then during the pandemic, since we couldn't really go and visit one another and things of that sort. Like, how did you continue your business?
Well, I mean, you just think of different ways that you could be useful. You know, it's kind of like being an amoeba. You just kind of go where you know that you're needed. I have a lot of very grateful that I have a lot of different things that I can kind of lean back on. So the first thing I did was do community supported agriculture boxes, CSA boxes. So using produce from my garden, but also I really wanted to support some of my farmer friends at the Santa Monica Farmers Market. And taking advantage of the empty freeway. It was a 15-minute drive. I was like, yeah, and it was also amazing because it was, I hope I don't cry right now, but it's like, it was such a historic time for us when everything was happening with like Black Lives Matter, just to see the change. You know, I work a lot in Orange County, to come through Long Beach, to go up to LA, to see the different artwork, to see how people reacted to the pandemic. It was just, it was an amazing time. So I did the CSA boxes. I had my group that would get them every week as fruits and vegetables, and I try to do recipes and stuff that people like. I did some Zoom classes. Gosh, what else did I do? It was like, it's just anything. It's like, there's a holiday. Okay, here's a box. You know, just anything that I could really think of.
So again, going back to the question, the pre-pandemic, how many people would you have in your how many people would you have in your kitchen? Like, how did that work?
You know, honestly, silver lining in the pandemic, and I know this is horrific times, I don't want to like make light of it, is that it just caused me to stop. So I was working a lot. So I was working, daytime as a teacher, then having a cooking class at night, and I was trying to give myself like a day off, like a Monday off, but it just wasn't working. I was working a lot. So to go from that to nothing, I did suffer some depression. Obviously, I'm pretty independent. I live alone. Oh, I have Zuka, the dog, but and I take care of my parents that live close by. I mean, we're in the same complex, so I'm not like totally alone. But just to not have that, community of cooking and everything, it was really hard. But I kept in touch with everyone, and they were mainly my base, as customers. So, I mean, from the beginning of the pandemic, I mean, I don't think I could ever go back to that. Like, for example, this semester, you know, to go back to school, it's like, are you kidding me? There's no way that, I mean, and, you know, more power to all the teachers that are out there. I know that, you know, I'm no hero. I'm like, that I'm going to wait, especially, I mean, I just don't know what's going on. And if I were to give something to my parents, you know, it would just be heartbreaking to me.
Well,
But
you and I have so much in common. I, also live by myself. You're so lucky that you have, is it Zuko or Zuka?
Zucca, it means pumpkin in Italian.
Okay. So
Like
you have,
zucchini's a squash.
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you had Zuka. I was just by myself. And though I really like, my place, it did get me a little down, and it affected millions of people with depression. Some of the things that I actually did was, okay, I'm going to make a list of things that I'm going to do every single day, at least for 45 minutes to an hour. So would you be cooking like that? Would you say, okay, I think I'm just going to cook this, something a day, or, what did you do to help get yourself out of that depression?
Well, I mean, I have to like be doing something. Oh, it says I'm unstable. I'm unstable. No, is the connection better? I was really glad that I found Cornell University. I mean, I think I didn't find it, it's just like all this stuff's popping up in your feed all the time. And I'm like, you know what, why don't I enroll like in a nutrition program, get a certificate? And so that really saved me because, there was a group of people from all over the world, going towards this credential, and we would chat about things, and there'd be lectures, and I learned so much about nutrition. It really changed the way I looked at some of my cooking as well. And I look forward to doing more with that like this fall. But earning that certificate was super fun. They also have a medicinal herbs one, which I am so down to do. Yes.
Wow. Talk a little bit more about that, like what you know of it so far.
Well, I mean, it's a really big thing. It's part of my culture. So my grandmother, they're from an island called Ischia, and herbal remedies are basically the go-to,
Absolutely.
for support in the body. And I mean, I do use a lot of things that are already herbal, but I want to learn more about it. I mean, and foraging. I mean, there's so many things. I already forage. I walk Zucca, and I'm getting all the nasturtiums and edible flowers and things I find in the neighborhood. By the way, if you do that, you should rinse it off with water and baking soda. It takes everything off, like any sprays they use, dog pee, whatever. So good. I should have just FYI. Yeah. But I want to go deep, like in the Hollywood Hills, and like find mushrooms or something, and like cook with them. Like that guy Pascal, whatever his name is. I'm sure everyone follows him. That guy makes some crazy stuff, man.
Can you talk about more about foraging and what that is for individuals that might not know?
So I wish I knew like the root word for it. I should, but it's like basically you're taking stuff.
Taking stuff from
basically,
where?
I'm picking other people's flowers and herbs, and then I would be going in the wild and doing it. You're taking stuff, but it's like knowing what to take, so you don't die.
Actually, especially with mushrooms, you
have
to
be some stuff that
you have to be careful with mushrooms, right? When you're foraging.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Mushrooms, flowers too.
All right. Well, that's awesome. So talk about some of the positives of being a chef. I mean, you did say a few already, that it's a love language, and you love to feed people. It makes you happy, but talk about some other positives about being a chef.
I just love the different niches that like chefs can be a part of. You could be a chef at a restaurant, you could be a chef at your home, you could be a chef outside, you could be at the farmer's market. I just think there's so much possibility. It isn't just like, oh, chef is one thing. But I do think a lot of people have that in their mind. They think you have to have the coat on and the hat and the culinary school. I'll tell you, a lot of people that I've worked with that have gone to culinary school, I'll be like, oh yeah, can you sear off that steak? And it's like boiling of water. I'm like, what are you doing? I wouldn't say that culinary school really teaches you how to cook very well. And I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for that. But I think you have to have passion, and I think that that's what's cool about being a chef is you can be like a type of an artist and the food is just your medium.
Are there any home chefs or chefs that have gone to culinary school that you look up to?
Oh, yes, so many. You want me to shout out to a bunch of people? Shout out to Chef Amanda and Mommy. Yeah, you guys should look her up. Chef Donna Bass, I love her. Chef Elizabeth Witt, who I talked about earlier. Who else? Chef Arthur Gonzalez. I love him. He's like a big brother.
Okay, so you
why are you doing this to me? I'm going to make people off the list and sound like a jerk.
Well, you know,
everyone knows I love them, and if I don't like you, you also know that.
I really like your attitude. You're like a straight shooter, and I really appreciate that about you.
Oh, thank you.
Another thing I like is your social media. You know how you are. You're very approachable, it seems. And I mean, I've met you before, and the first time we met, you were just like ordering everything off the menu. I'm like, oh my God, who does that? And then when I heard you were a chef, I'm like, oh, chefs do that. Is that
all my friends just pass me the menu when we go to Ponce? Yeah, they're like, just order. Or anywhere good, just have Ollie order, and I'm more than happy to do so.
Okay, now I
try not to be pushy about it.
You try not to be pushy, yeah.
I like about trying new things because I like people to try new things, but I'm like, just give me the menu.
Oh my gosh. And so another thing, like I was trying to get to with your Instagram, you take amazing and beautiful pictures of your food.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk about some of, your favorite dishes that you've taken pictures of.
Well, carbonara is one of my favorites. I just put a post up about that yesterday, and making frittata. And it's funny because one of the questions you asked me, like, something about like if people are intimidated to cook and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask
you what are they most intimidated? I think frittata they get scared about, and I'm like, I really don't want people to be intimidated. One of my closest friends said to me the other day, Macaulay, she was like, "Yeah, I just get nervous to cook for you. I don't want to cook for you." And like, I don't like that. Like, I want people to feel comfortable, and that I definitely don't want to be a food snob or feel like I am, But where was I going with that? Was the first part?
No, I was asking you to talk about say some of your favorite.
Oh yeah,
foods.
What's intimidating?
Oh yeah, there you go. What's intimidating?
Yeah, frittata. So with frittata, you have to flip it over, and then it makes like this kind of. It looks like a tortilla española, and like you cut it, and it's like a little pie, and you can eat it hot or cold. And so another one's just like, I'm just so scared to do that. And it's super easy, just like mix in eggs to like leftovers, and you can do it with like rice and a bunch of different things. But it's always interesting to me, like the things that intimidate people, but they're like, oh, I want to make fresh pasta. Like, are you crazy?
I see that, and that's very intimidating for me. So what are
it's a lot. You have to do that a lot of times. And cheese, people are like, oh, I want to do like a burrata class. I'm like, one? You think you're gonna learn it in one class?
What is burrata?
Oh, it's delicious. It's a mozzarella fresca, fresh mozzarella that's injected with cream, and it just like explodes. I can't wait to make it for you.
Oh my God. Yes, I would love that.
It's always like such an honor to be someone's first experience. And it's like, it's just very special. It's very Neapolitan.
That's so very true. Okay, so we talked about some of the positives. Now, what are some of the negatives about being a chef? I mean, you named one where people are afraid to cook for you because they're intimidated. What are some of the other ones? What are some of the other drawbacks?
I would say that the main one is the overuse of your hands, and just kind of the toll on the body. Like when you do events and things and you're lifting a lot. I make sure to take really good care of myself. One of my closest friends is a sports massage therapist. I'm no athlete, but he works on me, and I really think I would have a lot of health problems, especially in my hands, if it wasn't for Vinny. He has practice in Long Beach. Vincent Carb. I can't say his last name. I've known him for so long. I didn't even know I can't say his last name. But yeah, so massage therapy, taking good care of yourself. Self-care for a chef is like the worst. Again, in my little niche, I feel very lucky because I can take time off. I take naps, I'm able to practice that self-care. But like, even, I mean, just the restaurant down the street, not that I'm talking, you know, but like you see the chef out there just on the bench over here, like in front of, like right by my house, and he's just tired. He's like asleep, and you can just see, you know, he puts so much into everything, and then he's just, I don't know, dude just comes and does that every day, you know?
Yeah.
I
So
doubt he even has an Instagram. You know,
no,
I don't even think he's recognized for his amazing work. And a lot of chefs, it's like a thankless job. I feel so lucky. I post a picture. I always feel, oh, that looks so good. Send me the recipe, you know? And so I get a lot of gratification out of it. But there are people that they cook all day long, all night long, and it's like thankless and they're tired, you know?
so
That's a big drawback to the chef.
yeah, it sounds like, you know, chefs get burnt out a lot.
They do. Yeah. And I think it's something that needs to be re-examined. Just also as a female in the industry, obviously it's not a secret. There's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of people that have a problem with women cooking. So weird. It's like
Yeah.
basically invented food. But yeah, there's, I mean, you'll see really famous chefs that say, you know, women can't cook or women shouldn't be cooking. And it's kind of like the same voice that says women can't be funny, or like, you know, just all this weird stuff where you think, I think that stuff is gone. And then it just turns up like as a ghost in these things that people say. And the way that women are treated in our industry. I mean, we all saw what happened with like Mario Batali, and, you know, a lot of things came to light before the pandemic, and I haven't heard much from it, but I don't think it's gone away or anything, you know? Like I said in my niche, I just get to edit people out. If someone is, you know, at all like that, I just don't work with them.
You know, I think it's so interesting. I think it's so interesting that you brought up sexism, because I mean, it's just like in every single facet of society. And I mean, I've been in the entertainment industry for over 20 something years. And when I first started off in the sports, you know, in the sports sector of the entertainment industry, it was like casting couch all the time. And so I said, you know, instead of trying to be on TV anymore, let me be a sports writer, so people could look at what I know and see my knowledge on paper, as opposed to just my face and thinking, oh, okay, you know, she just wants to get with a player. And they called it the players lottery. And the players lottery is when someone, a female, just tries to sleep with a player, just to have a baby and to ching. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was not taken seriously. And this was, you know, back in the early 90s or mid 90s to early 2000s. And to hear that, especially, when I heard about Bertali, I was so disgusted, because people knew what was happening. It was like an open secret, right?
Yeah. And that happens a lot.
So how do you deal with that? You know, what are some of the things that you know, aspiring chefs that are coming up that are females, you know, what advice would you give them?
Oh, you know, don't work for free. My friend Chef Amanda was talking about this the other day too. A lot of people try to get us to work for free. And then they make it seem like, oh, you know, is this whole scam where, oh, you know, we're going to promote you, or, you know, oh, it's for this good cause. We're this organization. And, you know, they want you to buy the food, not just your hours, you know, it's insane. And people do it. And, you know, I volunteer, and I do a lot of things, you know, where I have control over that. But when I see like younger people getting scammed, or when I see people try to do it to me, you know, they just assume, oh, this is your passion. This is what you like to do. It's like, okay, well, my passion is Zuka and like the couch. Now, I do love to cook, but it's you know, it is very prevalent on females, and especially people of color, that people are coming in with Instagram too. You know, I get these messages, oh, you can have this many followers. I don't care how many followers I have. I want people to follow me that want to get the recipe, or, you know, like, I don't want this K number or whatever it is. And like, I'll get a message and they're like, oh, do you want to collab? And when I hear collab, I'm like, okay, let me click on it. What is this? This has nothing to do with food. And they're like, yeah, you know, like, well, it's a paid promotion. I go, who pays what? They're like, oh, you know, you pay us. Like, you want me to pay you for my content on your nothing page?
I get that
You
all the
know, it's
time.
wild.
I get it
Yeah,
all
it's
the time,
wild.
Ollie.
I'm like, what is wrong with people? But it's sort of part of that whole thing where it's like, let me, you know, leech off of your labor.
Yeah.
And it's not okay, you know?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I get that a lot. Okay, can you do video for me? And it'll
Yeah,
be on my site and you get a lot of views. I'm like, okay. I mean, I've been working in this industry for so long, and you have to know your worth, right? And that's one thing that I
exactly.
appreciate you saying.
Exactly.
And especially because you said it happens more with women and women of color. And that's something that
Yeah.
needs to change. So besides not working for free
And then we
and
look
not
aggressive, right? So
who?
I've heard that, like, where, sorry, I just interrupted you. I'm like, and then we look aggressive.
No,
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 but
no.
it's true. It's like,
Yeah,
if I'll
aggressive.
say, you know, I need to be paid for this, you know, I remember being at this event and I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Like, are you now, all of my work is being credited to this guy? Like, because of what? And I remember the guy saying to me, you're a little aggressive, aren't you? And
Oh
I go,
yeah.
excuse me? And he's like, you know, you're kind of manly. And I was like, I don't think anyone has ever called me manly in my life. I was laughing. I was like, do you really think it's aggressive to be paid for your work? Like, do you work for free? And you say that to someone and then they put it in perspective because they just expect you to, you know? I get very passionate about it. I get a little fired up.
No, I love it. And that's part of why I wanted, you to be on People Junkie, because I feel like a lot of people, especially women, don't know that about this industry.
Yeah.
And it's something that they could learn. What's another bit of advice for, especially for women and minorities coming up in the culinary industry? Should they try to contact women in the industry, like, just to have someone that's going to be there for them or actually pave a way for them?
Women can be just as bad as men, man. It's like you just have to find good people, you know, and there's no formula for it, you know, and you're gonna get hurt and you're gonna learn lessons, you know, but I think a lot of people, and you know, again, especially women, we feel like we have to be pleasers and you know, we don't want to like burn bridges, but you know, it's okay to edit people out of your life so that you can, you know, put your energy elsewhere. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to just be like block and delete and buy, you know. And I think a lot of people get afraid of that and they don't want to speak up and they're like, well, I'm just gonna, you know, like just be safe about this. It's like, no, you know, it goes with knowing your worth. It goes with being paid for your work. You know, it's all part of the same thing. It's your integrity.
How do you feel about excuse me, how do you feel about mentorships? And have you been a mentor yourself?
I feel like I'm always a mentor. I love being a mentor. I try to be a good mentor. You know, I have people that, you know, work as staff that work, you know, assist me at events, and I try to be a good example. I try to give them good advice without it being, you know, too much, I guess. I hope that I help mentor in that way. I'm an auntie, so being a Zia, you're already a mentor. I have a beautiful little niece, Ileana Rose, um, and Elia James, and then my brother also has 3 kids. So like, I try to, in that sense, you're always kind of a mentor as an aunt. But doing a mentorship, I definitely think about that. I think about, you know, there's some schools that have like little culinary programs, but also just offering something, you know, to a more impacted group that might not have availability for a mentorship. I'm definitely looking into that. I think it's important. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am, you know, without people that mentored me along the way and still do now, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So, getting back into cooking, what are some meals that you feel are very easy that people could basically dip their toe in when they're just barely getting into cooking?
Let's see. Hard to say because people have like different skill levels, you know, like even my mom, I love my mom so much. It's one of their favorite breakfasts is called toad in the hole. Okay. And it's not Italian or anything. Italians don't eat eggs and stuff for breakfast. That's where we have like cookies and coffee. But you know, we're Italian American. They like their eggs and stuff. So it's basically a piece of bread and you make a hole in it. So there are a few things that I make for them that my mom is always just like, I just can't make it, you know? She's so cute and like I don't want her to be intimidated. And it's like, okay, Mom, are you making the hole in the bread? And she's like, no. It's called a toad in the hole. Yeah. It's in the name. And so she goes, I can't waste the piece of bread. Well, eat it or something. I don't know. So what's easy for some people isn't for others. You know, my mom cooks and stuff, but for some people, they can't even make the hole in the bread.
So what goes in the bread? What's the toad in the hole? Is that the egg?
The egg. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so you fry it up like it kind of like with the perfect grilled cheese. It sounds disgusting, but mayonnaise is the key ingredient. You put it on the bread, it has like a low burn. And so that's on the bread. You put that down, you crack the egg, you can put cheese and like vegetables and stuff like that. The toad's in the hole, and then when you open it, the toad comes out. Get it?
Wow. So how long does it cook on each side, or is it just one side that cooks?
You know, I haven't timed it, and it depends on the freshness of your eggs. So, you know, you kind of just have to really know about eggs. I love doing egg classes. You know, that's a good place to start when you want to learn how to do your poached egg, your hard boiled, your toad in the hole, your all that stuff. That class is as much fun as doing like a steak class where you learn how to do like rare to medium rare, like what blue is. But okay, I want to answer your question. So like, what's a good beginner's dish?
Yeah, because I mean, you know, for me, a quesadilla for me is the easiest. You just get the butter, put it on the pan. You know,
I love quesadilla,
and then the tortilla. You get the you know, different kinds of cheeses wherever you want to put. You know, a lot of people, especially Mexicans, they like, or Latinos, like cacique. So you put the cacique in, and then, you know, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, you brown, you're ready to go. So I'm talking about something simple like that.
Well, it's funny because, okay, I had a boyfriend in college. He was at the UC Berkeley School of Architecture or whatever. His little brother hated me. He was just like, not impressed like, at all. And I was like, Aldo told me, he's like, you know, if you make him a quesadilla, he'll be really happy. And I was like, really? And the brother was like, really straight up told me that I was going to mess it up. So I remember we were in my apartment and I made him a quesadilla and he liked it. And I was so happy because I was worried I was going to mess it up because, I mean, he obviously had very specific things that he wanted. That crispiness had to be fried in butter, the cacique. And after that, he loved me. So that's the magic of food, right? But for some people, the quesadilla is a hard thing to start with. You know, they have a hard time even just knowing like how to heat the pan or lower the heat when they need to, you know? But for pastas, I mean, for simple, like first recipes, I think pastas where you're making the sauce, like in the time that it takes to boil the water, those are the best. Because I think it kind of breaks down that affective filter where like people are nervous, you know, or like, you know, feeling intimidated, like how I feel when I have to put together furniture. I'm like, oh, I don't want to see the instructions. I get it. Like I can totally empathize. But yeah, so like the carbonara recipe that I just posted is very easy. However, like someone might be uncomfortable with raw egg. So what you do there is you're cooking your pasta, and then in the same time you have your bowl and you put in like 2 eggs and Parmigiano Reggiano, pecorino, and you mix it up, salt and pepper. I always put like chopped parsley. I love to do fresh herbs and everything. Yeah. And then you've cooked your pancetta or guanciale. Guanciale is the jowl of the pig, but bacon is fine too. It's actually an American influence because they dropped down all those ingredients during the war, and then Italians made it. It was a coal miner's pasta. But interesting. A little bit of food history. Yeah, so all those things, you have your pancettas on the side or your bacon, okay? So you're keeping that warm. Then your cold ingredients in the bowl. And the way that people mess up is they drain it and then they wait too long and it's cold. So you're counting on the heat of that pasta to cook ingredients. So the other part is you have to put the pasta on and then let it sit. And people love to stir. Have you seen this? No. They get in the kitchen and it's like, it's not time to stir. And they're over there stirring. They're like, what are you doing? But it's bringing in cold air and you're ruining it, man. Like I was telling my students, I was like, go have a glass of wine, stand on go on the balcony, you know, whatever you need to do for like 2 to 3 minutes to just kind of let it sit. And then you mix it up and it makes a beautiful, like creamy, it's almost like an Alfredo, but there's no cream in it. There's no cream in it.
And
Italians get crazy about it. People add cream.
And what about salt? Because a lot of people are afraid to salt their pasta.
I love salt. Well, and they should be because they're doing it wrong. No, and I get where the thinking is. They want to use less, so they think that adding it at the end is the best thing to do. But what it does is it just sits on top of the food. So in Italian cooking, you're salting and seasoning early and often. So you begin with salting the water. Salting the water infuses the pasta with a little bit of saltiness. It also makes the water more dense, so it heats quicker. And then, you're salting as you go. I rarely add salt at the end. My food is already salted and seasoned, but I do like to add like that Malden finishing salt. I don't get all weird like that guy, but like, the beautiful salt crystals. I just do this. I don't.
Just like a little sprinkle, right? Or like a flick of the wrist.
It's just not weird.
That's so awesome. I'm sure people are getting a lot of pointers, and I'm sure people that are listening and watching you are, starting to get their mouth watering. I know I am. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, you do cook a lot with meat. I don't eat meat. I stopped eating meat a long time ago for various reasons.
Good. There's no reason to eat meat. Yeah.
And so
there's really no reason.
what are some of I guess dishes that are going to be easy for people that are either vegan or vegetarians? Do you have any?
So like portobello mushrooms are like one of the most under celebrated thing. They had like their heyday in the 90s. Do you remember that? It was like around the time of like the seared ahi tuna with the sesame on it. It was like on every menu. Yes. And there was a portobello mushroom. Mm-hmm. And like now you don't see them anymore. And it's such a wonderful thing. It's one of my dad's favorite things to eat. So mushroom dishes have that kind of richness and that umami. And when I say there's no reason to eat meat, I do feel that, there's like animal husbandry and like there's a whole thing with that. But health-wise, it doesn't do that much for your body.
Yeah.
It actually does bad things. So like in moderation. And then I love doing vegetarian things even for myself because I don't really like to eat meat every day. Even though I kind of look like that on my posts. I do a lot of fish though. But the mushrooms, beans. I love doing bean dishes, man. Beans are the best.
All right.
And you get like such a good variety, those rancho gordo beans.
Okay, now I'm getting very, very hungry. Now we have some time left before I have to go, off and eat my dinner. But excuse me. I also wanted to ask you, what are some of your hobbies out of the kitchen?
I love to swim. I try to do like a swim across the bay. I live here on the peninsula in Long Beach, like every day. I like to skate. I like quad skating and I like inline skating too, but don't tell anyone.
You're better than me. I feel like I'm gonna just fall on my face.
We'll go sometime. And
that'd be awesome.
I love riding my bike. I have a tricycle. I call it a Vespa. I wanted to buy a Vespa, but I couldn't. I got this rad trike. So that's fun to do. I like to go to the farmer's market here at the marina on Wednesdays. Like bring my trike over there and get produce. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of hobbies outside of cooking, but I cook every day, pretty much all day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now going back to what you said that you have to take care of your hands. I also feel like I have friends and cousins who are hairstylists and say that they get, they have to stop using their hands for a certain amount of time. So what are some of the dishes that are the worst, when it comes to you using your hands? I know pasta has to be one of them, right?
It's everything. It's literally everything. Anything that involves a knife a lot, but if you have good knife skills and you're holding your knife correctly, that's going to help a lot. But anything where you're cutting a lot, the pasta, the cheese. You're going like hot water, making that top knot, doing all those things. It's just, it is, I think, I don't remember. I read it somewhere where it's like you're using your hands some number of times more than normal. and it's just an overuse of your hands. There's so many illnesses associated with it. So I think you really need to, get that massage, take that turmeric, really take care of yourself, soak your hands.
No, I appreciate that. Again, a lot of people don't understand what goes into being a chef and what it's like, and the day-to-day things that you have to do that might not be the best for you. And that's what you're talking about right now, especially self-care. Self-care is something I talk about all the time. I definitely want to, I have a few people in mind that I want to come on for the podcast. But if you guys are just joining us, I am with Ollie George. Excuse me. I'm with Ollie George Cigliano, and she's a chef in the city of Long Beach. She has cooking classes and things of that sort. We're going to get into that. Where where can people find you? Where are your cooking classes? And are you going to be doing any in-home cooking classes at Ollie's Kitchen? And go from there.
Yeah, so I did open up my kitchen again for cooking classes for vaccinated individuals, and I don't know how that's gonna be looking, a month from now or whatever. But right now they are open. I have a lot of ventilation here, so being here on the water, open the back door, the front door, a huge patio. So I feel like I control the environment here, and a lot of my guests are very responsible and respectful. But if you want to look at the services I offer, it's at www.olliegeorgecooks.com. Ollie George is my first name. It's like Maria Jose or Mary Jane. Mm-hmm. And it was my great grandma's name. So I usually go by Ollie, but I feel it's important to honor your ancestors so that they could be remembered. And this is Ollie George. Don't you love her do? And she was an organic gardener and cook. She'd only use honey, and I get stories about her from my mama.
So it actually is in the blood then, cooking for you.
I mean, I don't know. I'm no doctor.
And talk about your other social media handles. Where can people go look at your amazing food?
Oh, thank you. At Ollie George Cooks is Instagram, and then I do have a Facebook, because I just can't get rid of it. It's not my favorite. Anyways, I have a personal page, it's Ollie Cigliano, and that's basically for my Italian family in Ischia. They love to see pictures of my dad eating. So that's what you get there. And then my chef page is at Ollie George Cooks. It's so it's kind of consistent. Anywhere you look, Ollie George Cooks, you'll find that. But I do have my chef page on there, which is it. All that is what I post on Instagram. So it just gets reposted on there.
So
but these are two ways to find me. I'm also going to be on WikiHow. Sorry, I'm super excited.
No, what is WikiHow?
So I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I know. I'm like,
I'm like, what? Well, wait.
It's something I'm not paid for it, but this is one of those things where you say yes to, because it's about enriching the community, and empowering them how to cook. So the first set of questions that they sent me that were reader generated were how to use a knife, how to tell if your eggs are good, how to cook a steak from frozen, how to, it was a lot of questions. But WikiHow is one of those, I don't know if you've ever Googled, how to make cafe corretto, which maybe you'll learn in a minute. Yes. But, and it goes step by step, and it has the pictures, and it goes to something called a expert, which I guess I am. But so they link it to your website and your social medias, so people can come find your recipes there too. So it's WikiHow. It's like an online community of information.
So how do you spell it?
Wiki, WICI, and then how, how do you do something, HOW.
Okay. Have you
one word.
Awesome. Have you thought about teaching a masterclass?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know that. I mean, thank you for the compliment. Alice Waters teaches masterclass. I have the masterclass thing. I love it. But I am looking into teaching at Cal State Long Beach. They have a program called Ollie, but someone reached out. Someone reached out to me about it, and I'm interested in doing that. A lot of them are Zoom. Some are on campus. And then I have a retreat coming up at the end of September, where I'll be there as the food expert, but it's also like a painting trip and an architecture trip. It's a 3-day experience in Ojai.
Wow, I love Ojai.
Me
Yeah,
too.
one of my good friends lives
There's
over
2
there.
spots left. Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely see. I may be busy doing this thing, but no, but you and I will definitely, talk
Yes.
offline. So those who do want to learn how to cook, but don't feel that they want to be around people right now. They don't want to go into Ollie's kitchen, even though, I understand you take all the COVID-19 precautions. Do you do like personal Zoom classes or do group Zoom classes?
Absolutely. And it's on my website under services. Any of the classes that are offered, or if you want a custom class, like say, oh, you don't see, making pesto on there, but that's what you want to do, you just reach out and let me know. And it's very easy. As soon as I create the class, it makes like a customized Zoom link.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I did one with the Compton Girls Club, and it went really well. And then a few people who had like already purchased, before the pandemic, like couples classes and stuff like that, where I just deliver a kit, or I can give you the list of ingredients, and then you can do a Zoom class, anything you want to make.
That sounds like fun. One thing you mentioned a while back, you talked about CSA boxes. Can you go further into that and what that is and how people...
CSA, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people have asked me if I'm going to be doing CSA again. CSA is community supported agriculture. And so it's just a box of like fruits and veggies that are hand selected, things that I always like to keep on hand, and exotics, I did feel that was a good time for me to do that during the pandemic. However, now the farmers markets are open and people can really shop for themselves. And I can't drive like 2 hours to Santa Monica, it just doesn't fit in with the whole, like living green, or I don't know. It's just awful to be on the freeway. And I'm sorry for anyone that has to be there. And so it's like, I don't know if everything shuts down again. I mean, that might be something I go back into. I definitely love to see the farmers up there and give support and, share all that good food with my community. But the CSA boxes are community supported agriculture. And I'm not sure, I believe that Gusto Bread is still doing that. I think they're closed this week, but they have, and I'm terribly sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the farm, but I'm sure if you go on their website, they're doing community supported agriculture. I know that the Sunday Farmers Market, Kelly Johnson was doing a CSA box. So we live in a community that just has so many opportunities to, partake in that.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, I also have a garden plot you can come up for free and harvest. Yeah. But it's only like 2 at a time.
2 at a time. Okay, I love that. I may actually take you up on that. I won't be foraging.
Oh, you'd love it.
Okay, because I have your permission. But
we will be foraging is different. We're gonna do that in Hollywood after I get my certificate.
Awesome. So I actually we talked about this earlier. Please, show us your favorite drink or one of your favorite drinks, and also go through the recipe so that if people, are listening to it, that they can also follow your recipe.
Okay, so it's not going to be like a measuring finite recipe, but I want to show you something. I love coffee. Usually people are like tea or coffee person. I love tea also, but I love coffee. And Italians like to make a drink. It's called a caffè corretto. That basically means that you correct the coffee. So it's a really nice afternoon coffee because it doesn't like give you the jitters. Okay, so I've made it before. This is in my French press. And I'm going to go ahead and press that down. Did I measure? No. So sorry. I shook some of this bitch's brew into my grinder. Looked about right. Do you see the bottom? There we are. Okay. There's my measurement. Poured the hot water in up to here. It's been sitting for a while, but it's still nice and warm. And then what you're going to do is pour your coffee in here. I go halfway. I don't add cream or sugar to my coffee because I get plenty of that other places. This is a really fun coffee liqueur that I'm trying for the first time. I won it at the Punksa Cocina raffle.
Okay.
Smells exactly as it should.
And Pancha is actually a place in the city of Long Beach, and that's where we actually met. So yeah, it's a really cool place. And if you are not able to see this podcast, she has a huge bottle. She's just pouring some of that.
I just call that an oops of measurement. It was like an oops and a half.
So yeah, about a shot and a half. She
Italian cooking. It's like, just intuition. Intuition is key. Smells amazing. You know what? I'm just gonna put a little floater on top. Why not? You could stir it, but it's gonna stir as it goes down.
So what kind of cup
is that? That is divine. Okay, I'm sorry.
What kind of cup is that? Oh,
I'm no hero, baby. I love Deadpool so much. This is my Deadpool mug. So cute.
Well, it sounds delicious. I so appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule, to come on People Junkie. And I
Thank
really,
you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I hope, people reach out to you because you're such a fun personality. Your food is delicious. And you have so many things to offer people. So I really appreciate it. So
thank you. Same to you. I really appreciate it.
Okay. So cheers to you with my water bottle.
Chin chin. And she put it tamale con aqua. No, we cannot. No, I don't really believe in luck. But
all right. If you want to give your social media handles again.
Yes, at Ollie George Cooks is Instagram, at Ollie George Cooks on Facebook, and I believe that's the two socials I have right now, and www.olliegeorgecooks.com.
Yeah, so if you're in the Long Beach area, California, that is, because there's a few more Long Beaches across the country, definitely check her out, hit her up. She does do Zoom classes as well, and that's also on her website. So Ollie, thanks again for your time.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to have to jump off and eat it in a little bit because my mouth is just watering from all the amazing food you were talking about.
Bon appetito.
All right, have a good one. I appreciate you.
Okay, ciao, Bella. Appreciate you too. Bye.
We were speaking with Chef. She's so amazing, Ollie George Cigliano, and really appreciate your time. I'm having such a fun time doing this show. And thanks for joining People Junkie again. Make sure to check us out on all our social media platforms below. And if you're on the go and you also want to catch us while you're listening, you can listen to us on Spotify, and we're also going to be soon on Apple Podcasts. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, put a smile on your face. You might not know whose day you'll make. Ciao for now.